Changing the Sales Game on webtalkradio.com. I'm your host, Connie Whitman. You know that I'm excited that you're here this week. So I hope as you listen to the show that clearly you feel my passion for helping you change your perspective on that word sales or wherever you are with your career, with changing that career. So here's the deal. By incorporating like little effort or little changes, we really can create huge changes on the back end and scale our business more quickly, make more sales, all those kind of cool things. Now, to help you on your road and your journey of changing or upping your sales game, in the show notes, you'll see my Linktree link, and it has my communication style assessment. That is my gift to you. You will get 2 reports. One will spotlight just your natural communication superpowers and how your message lands naturally. Flip side, your lowest score, typically when you're speaking with people who are 180 degrees different than you, more important to know how your message could be landing. So again, that lowest score will generate a report also to help you navigate those that communicate differently than you. Trust me, that's the important report to dig into, because it will help you identify those that are different than you and make sure your message lands clearly. Now, last thing, my big request, my big call to action or request right out of the gate is, if you're enjoying the show, please subscribe, rate, and review. The Apple shows me a little bit more love on the back end. And also share with your peeps if you think it can help them change their sales game or help them navigate their career. Sharing is caring. Now, this week, my guests had to cancel. They were sick. So instead of skipping an episode, I figured, what the heck, I'll do a solo one. So I hope you find my topic intriguing, but I always, of course, want to start my show with a motivational quote, so it sets the table for the topic. So the quote today I chose is by John D. Rockefeller, and he says, "Don't be afraid to give up the good for the great." So in sales, right? I mean, that's what I've been doing for 40 years. The biggest areas where I see salespeople and sales team really drop the ball are at the beginning and at the ends of the process. So kind of the bookends. So step one, at least in my sales process, and I'm sure many of you have similar, but step one is the preparation at the beginning of the sales process. Now, to put this in perspective, when you're doing especially external business development efforts, 90% of our success with that outreach, if you will, believe it or not, is preparation. 90% is preparation. What I see with teams that I work with is that they feel, or they'll often verbalize that, I'm too busy. I don't have the time to do that. So what they do is they forfeit the time, and then they just go out and they wing it. So I have some statistics for you, which is a little staggering and scary. But a recent survey, 82% of the decision makers, CEOs or prospective clients, the decision maker, were interviewed, and they felt that salespeople that they typically dealt with were not prepared, or they showed up ill prepared. So think about that, 82%. That's kind of scary. The interesting thing is we simply can't afford to show up unprepared and skip all of that little extra work beforehand. When we prepare, trust me on this, the process gets accelerated. The prospect or client, they're more likely to say yes more quickly, and they feel, and you, the individual, will feel the surge of confidence because everything just seems to flow effortlessly with that little bit of preparation in the beginning. So you're saying, okay, Con, well, what does that mean to me? What does preparation look like? So here, I want to just share some things that I believe can help you with that preparation, especially before any sales conversation, or if you're doing outbound networking events and stuff like that. So here are my ideas. Number one, to prepare, you should update and make sure you have a relevant, updated LinkedIn profile, including you should be reaching out or extending yourself on LinkedIn every day. Literally, when you make a habit of this, you can be on LinkedIn 5 minutes a day. Stay connected, reach out to people that you haven't seen, write an article that's relevant to your ideal target market or your ideal industry that you're working in. So updated LinkedIn profile, easy peasy. There's so many tip sheets and stuff out there. I share my tip sheet with my clients. have a relevant updated LinkedIn profile, especially an updated picture on your LinkedIn profile. The next one I want to talk about for preparation is networking. So here's the deal. Before you go to any networking events, and look, this could be your local chamber event. It doesn't matter. When you get a list in advance of whatever the event is, ask for that list, go through. Who do you know on it? Reach out on LinkedIn or whatever email, whatever template you use to reach out to existing people that you know to stay connected. So reach out to them. I'm on the list. Reach out to me. Say, oh my gosh, I see you're going to be at XYZ event or the festival or whatever's happening in town. Just let's make sure we say hello and reconnect. It's been a beat, right? Whatever. So that's number one. Get the list in advance. Additionally, now you have the list. Who on that list would you like to meet in your market or in your industry or the type of client you're looking for? Ask people you know. If you don't know that person already, ask for an introduction via an email or LinkedIn in advance so that when you show up, people are looking for you and you're going to get introduced to the people that you want to meet. Don't just go to a networking event and say, oh, I'm going to get 20 cards today. And then we do nothing with those 20 cards. Here's another thing I want to comment on. When you show up, make sure you have your business cards, certainly, for sure. Also have your digital business card. So maybe a QR code, your link tree could be on a QR code, your LinkedIn, if that's how you connect, you could create QR codes for that. So easy peasy, person puts their phone up, gets the QR code, and they're connected with you quickly. The other thing I see people drop the ball on, and this makes me crazy when I go to networking events, you're going to have to do your 30-second commercial, whether depending on the venue, if it's large enough, they'll break you into smaller groups. You still need to have a prepared 30-second commercial. And oh, by the way, it should only take you 15 to 20 seconds to tell everybody in that space what you do, how you do it, who you serve without any jargon. So how many times have you showed up at a networking event and a person goes on and on and on, and then several people at the end don't get to share their 30-second commercial? Additionally, it should be in your head. You should not sound like a recording or a robot. And also, do not open your phone or have a piece of paper and read your 30-second commercial from it. Here's the deal. It shows that you're not prepared. And I'll tell you, I would look at you like, oh, they didn't show up prepared for this. I probably wouldn't want to subconsciously do business with you or extend any time after the event to meet with you. Trust me on this. These little things I'm sharing really do become magical by asking for those introductions and showing up with QR codes and all of that. So I want to share a really quick story. It's kind of cool. Exactly what I described. This young man, I happen to be the keynote speaker at a local event. Young man connected with me on LinkedIn, wrote a lovely note. Oh, I'm excited to hear you talk about communication and sales. And I'd love to introduce myself. I responded, oh, definitely come see me. I would love to meet you. Right. I gave a nice reply. The day of the event, I see this kid walk in, and in my head, I'm thinking, oh, I know him. I walked over to him and I said, I know you, but I don't remember from where. Shares, I just connected with you on LinkedIn. I was like, yes, that's the picture. That's how I know you. Fast forward, I introduced him to everybody I knew at the event. He showed up, he prepared in advance. He showed up. I mean, I went over to him, but he was approaching me as well. And then I started introducing him to everybody at the event. He was a young man just starting his sales career, and he couldn't have been more appreciative. I was happy to do it because he earned that privilege from me by showing up and doing all that pre-work in advance. So I told him, keep up the good work, keep these habits building. It will make a huge difference on the back end for him. So that's just one example of showing up prepared by connecting with people on LinkedIn. The other thing I believe is, I don't care what the venue is, I believe in having prepared or curated agendas or questions. So for example, when I meet with a new client, a potential new client or prospect, what I do is I've been using the same agenda for 20 years. My questions are the same. Rinse and repeat, guys. I got it. It's locked, it's loaded, it's dialed in. So all I do is I change the date. I put the new client's name or bank name on it, or whoever the client is. And I send it to them in advance of our meeting. And I say, hey, here's what we're going to talk about at our meeting scheduled on. Would you like to add anything? Now, what this does, number one, it prepares them for what the expectation is on my end, right? What do I want to achieve during that meeting so I can actually help them at the end? And then fast forward, it gives them an opportunity to share things they're thinking about, they want to discuss in advance, so I could show up even more prepared and have information regarding whatever that extra topic is that they might have added to the agenda. So having the agenda and having those curated questions makes such a difference. And trust me, as you refine it, right? I've refined it over time. Once you get it really dialed in, it's as simple as change the date, the name, send it off via email, print it out for yourself, take notes right on that particular document, and we're off to the races. Now, I want to go back to the curated questions. What I do with my clients when we're doing the training and we get to step 3, which is questions, we take the best of the best questions for different products, different venues, different type of clients, if you have various clients in your demographic. And then what we do is on their share drive, we literally create a data bank of questions. Now, here's the cool thing by doing this. Number one, we have these really excellent open-ended questions where we get the client speaking and giving us detail that we actually need to be able to do a proposal, make a recommendation at the end, depending on how fast your sales cycle is. The other cool thing is when you have new employees coming in, you as a sales leader potentially could go to that data bank of questions as well and share them with the new employees coming in. So we get people up that learning curve super fast, as well as creating good habits with these curated, just deep dive questions that get responses quickly. So again, the individual wins, the new person, you win as the leader, and the organization wins because everybody is moving at just a faster pace. Again, all part of preparation. Now, I want to shift gears. So that was part 1, right? That's the, if you will, the left side of the start point, step 1, preparation. We're going to go fast forward now to the end, right? The other bookend or the right side of the sales process. And that is the follow-up. So I want to just share another statistic, which I find staggering and upsetting all at the same time. So 98% of salespeople don't follow up past the 5th touch. Now, I want to define what that means. People say, well, how many times do I have to touch the client? A touch could include a meeting. It could include an email. It can include seeing them at the festival or seeing them at the food store. A touch doesn't always have to be a one-on-one meeting or a telephone call or an email. It could be a LinkedIn post that you send specifically to them, or responding to a LinkedIn post that they put out there. Here's the deal. Because we have so much noise in the marketplace that 5 touches, they don't even remember who you are. We have to get to that 13 to 18 touches before a client will trust us, feel seen by us, feel understood by us, want to connect with us, and see us as the professional that we are. So here's the scary part of the statistic. 2% of the salespeople out there are doing what I'm describing, that they're touching, following up diligently with their clients, their prospects, their centers of influence, whoever it might be. That could generate more business for them. The other thing I hear is, oh, CRM, they're expensive. That's true, depending on the size of your organization. Don't have to have a Salesforce complicated CRM system, but you can have a CRM system where you determine what is the pulse or what is the flow of that follow-up? What does it look like? Is it after you make the sale 2 days? Is it 2 weeks? Is it a month? Do you meet with your clients quarterly? What is it for you? And how do they want you to follow up with them? Define all of that, make that part of your sales cycle. And then what happens, everything fast forward quickly. The other thing, watch your follow up, that you're not follow up with such intensity that you become that icky, slimy, they see your phone or they see your text or they see your email and they go, oh my God, what does she want? Or what does he want? Don't do that. Make sure you know what the right flow or pulse is within your demographic. Now, my particular follow-up, again, it's step 7 of my process. I call it CPR. So those of you that are watching on YouTube will see me do the paddles to keep someone alive, right? You keep them alive. It's CPR follow-up. For me, the CPR stands for consistent, persistent, and the biggest word for me, respectful follow-up, so that the client knows when I'm following up, how I'm following up, and also they know that when I do follow up, it's with something of value. So again, when we do this type of follow-up and we let the client know why we're doing the follow-up, how, and all of those pieces of the puzzle, they understand what's in it for them. All of a sudden, sales process accelerates. The number of objections you get, they're gone. They're just reduced. You get clients or prospects to say yes more quickly. And here's the big one. With key follow-up like this, CPR follow-up in my world, we create passive income, because by doing that follow-up, I might not have been ready for your offer today, but I've been thinking about it. And I know 6 months from now, I'll be working on that for my podcast or my business or whatever it might be. And you're the person I want to reach. Well, if you don't follow up with me when the time comes, I've forgotten that we had that conversation 6 months ago, right? So I'm looking for someone else to satisfy that need. So make sure that when you do that follow-up, you do it with that consistent, persistent, respectful edge. And then what happens, you'll have passive income coming in because you create yourself as top of mind. So when I do decide 6 months, 8 months, whatever it might be, I've heard from you. I've seen your newsletters. You've connected with me on LinkedIn. You've responded to the posts that I put. You responded to a podcast, the episode that I put out there. You're going to be top of mind. Who am I going to call? Not the Ghostbusters. I'm going to call you so that I can have you help me with whatever it was that we spoke about in the past. So I think you can see follow-up is really important. So if we can start strong and we could end strong, all the 5 steps in the middle become easy peasy and we can move at a pretty quick rate. So I hope these little tips and ideas helped you. Here's the deal. You know my mantra at the end of the show: information's a beautiful thing. If you do nothing with it, it's just information sitting in your brain. If you take, here's my call to action, if you take 1 or 2 of the tips, ideas, strategies, depending on what's happening in your world. So if you're going to networking, listen to the episode again, get locked and loaded before the networking event. If you have a big client meeting coming up, go back and look at the agenda and other things I talked about. So again, I've given you several tips, ideas, and strategies to implement. Pick one, play with it, make it yours, and see how it feels. Trust me, the more we can refine, reiterate, up our game, if you will, the better we do that. And if we do that monthly, right, where we pick that skill and we double down and we put that effort out, trust me, magic really does happen on the back end. You have to do something different. So call to action, take a tip, implement, report back, let me know how it went for you. Thank you so much for tuning in. I hope you enjoyed just me, solo Connie, today, but I hope I shared some things maybe to get you thinking and getting your brain wrapped around ways that you can approach sales, again, the beginning and the end, with a little bit more ease and grace so that you could get more yeses, make sales a heck of a lot more fun, and show up super prepared. Trust me, it will make a difference, especially with that statistic at the beginning. 84% of decision makers feel that the salesperson showing up is ill prepared. That's not okay. Take the time. Trust me, it works. It will make everything easy, and you will make more money on the back end while serving bigger and better for your ideal client. They deserve it. They deserve that from us, and I believe they've earned that from us as well. So thank you for tuning in. You've been listening to Changing the Sales Game with me, your host, Connie Whitman, on webtalkradio.com. I hope you will join me weekly as we question, build, and discover, no matter where you are on changing your sales game, that the tips that I shared today, or my guests, when I usually have guests on that we share, I hope you find value in them and get to use them in your real life so that you can up and change your sales game quickly, easily, and just be able to serve our clients at a higher level. I love you all. Thank you for tuning in. I hope you enjoyed the show. I love sharing. I love teaching. So I hope you found value in this. Again, have a great week. I'll see you next week. And thanks again for tuning in. I love you. Take care.